Biological threats like the beetles are not the only type of threat, and one very serious threat to trees, comes from wind. Up here, nearly 50 feet above the ground, one immediately appreciates the elasticity of trees. If we think about it, this is something that most people already know at some level. After all, we all know that branches bend much more often than they break. It is in the nature of trees that they are bendable. But up here, you really appreciate just how much this is an essential characteristic of trees. I'm up here on just an ordinary day, and even on a day like this, the tree trunk here is moving back and forth, flexing and bending with each gust of wind. To understand this, we have to recognize that each tree leaf acts just like a miniature sail that catches the wind. Now, of course, the force on any one leaf is not all that great, but consider the fact that each tree has tens of thousands of leaves, and that all of those forces are combined. Holding on up here, it's obvious that the combination of those forces is enough to move a tree trunk like this one. And of course, the taller the tree, the greater the amplification of forces. It's simply a matter of leverage. This is the nature of trees. They are built to flex, and they do so almost all day and all night on every day of their lives. But even as I say this, even as we look at those gently swaying branches, it is still difficult to get a true sense of how important the role of wind is in shaping the nature of our forests. And that's because we humans are very rarely out and about at times when the wind plays its most significant role. On the contrary, we almost always move to shelter whenever the wind starts to blow hard. But often, and it really is quite often, since it happens just about every time the trees experience what we call bad weather. The wind starts to blow really hard, and the trees do much more than sway. I'm up here in this same tree, but this time I can tell you it's doing much more than just gently swaying. The experience now is more like a shaking and jolting. So how often does this happen? Well, in most places, it's about once a week or so that a weather front passes through with its accompanying gusty winds. So in other words, weather like this is a commonplace occurrence in the lives of these trees. This goes far in explaining why the canopies of most forests are so even in height. Just picture the value of the trees being at the same height when the wind blows hard. Imagine the disadvantage of sticking up above one's neighbors. The strongest winds skim over the top of the forest, not pushing as strongly on the center of any given tree because they all collectively provide a partial windbreak for each other. Once again, they have to stand and fight, but in this case, they stand and fight together.